So I think one thing that would be helpful for everybody in the room as we kind of kick things off is obviously in the world of sports, the creative and marketing motion may look a little bit different than it does in traditional industries. And Jim, maybe you would be the perfect person to kick that conversation off because Live Golf was your first introduction into the world of sports from a creative perspective. How does it differ from kind of your traditional industries?
Yeah, sport doesn't stop. I mean, it's 24/7. It's weekends, it's nights. Traditional business, it's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. You know, this is different. We travel. I mean, our league travels the globe. So this year we were in 7 different countries. So we're in different time zones. We have team members that live in different countries. So our business is split between the U.S. and the U.K. So we're operating different time zones all the time. We're traveling. And having a tool like Litho really helps keep us on track no matter where we are. You can just kind of dive right in, see what's going on a project, and pick it right back up again. So.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about the size of the team that you support?
Sure. Our creative team is 25 designers, photographers, video editors, producers, all using the platform. We support 379 stakeholders. And that's not just within the company, that's also external event management companies, vendors, partners, and all of that. And that's where all those requests come from, and we get a lot of them.
I can imagine, yeah. Courtney, how about you? What are some of the unique challenges that you and your team experience in the world of sports?
Yeah, it can be hard because it's so public, right? So I've been told on Reddit that I should lose my job a few times if people don't like certain things that I do. So I'm trying to separate that, not take that personal, but there's also a human element to it. So we're using players on so many different graphics, so you have to be really careful about what campaigns, what players you're using, how many times we're using the player. So everyone knows Anthony Edwards, but we also have a lot of other players, so making sure we're kind of spreading the love. So a lot of unique challenges there, having to get a lot of approvals from player agents if we're using players, so things like that. And our team is smaller. It's 25 within the marketing department. That's brand strategy, creative, in-arena, videographers, photographers, making up like 21.
Cato, how about you?
Yeah, so our team is, our creative team is 11, and that includes project management. Our senior project manager's here today, Lauren, if you want to connect. That's photo, design, video, motion design. We service the whole organization. That's, in-game entertainment, social media, digital, sales, community, PR. And, one thing that's interesting about sports is we don't play, but we do go on this roller coaster ride every year where, like Courtney was saying, her team just made the playoffs. Well, guess what? That means her off season's going to start a little bit later. And I've been fortunate enough to work in all 4 major sports, and I will say that hockey, when you're good, and we're a really good team, and we've had some deep playoff runs, that extends your off season another 6 weeks. And guess what? You've lost 6 weeks of off season to prepare for the next season, and that's happened to us, consistently over the last 7 years. In particular, the last 3 years, deep playoff runs. So it takes about 2 months to win the Stanley Cup. So if you're one of those teams, you're now behind the 8 ball when it comes to prepping for the next year and everything that comes with that. Where if you're bad, your off season, your vacation time starts in April. And that's out of our control. We're along for the ride as we go, depending on what team you're with.
So that's interesting. I want to pull that thread around how to prioritize, right, when things like playoffs present themselves. How do you all frame your processes? How do you all frame kind of that particular motion so that when and if you do make the playoffs, obviously not only does that add more work, but to your point, Cato, it also shrinks the amount of time that you have to do the work for the next season as well. So how do you all have, I'm assuming, some level of frameworks and processes in play? What do those look like?
Yeah, so we'll start depending on where we're at in the standings, we'll have a good idea whether we're going to make the playoffs. So we'll start to work on that. If the playoffs start mid-April, we're talking about it February, really starting to dive in. We look to change our campaign from the regular season to a playoff look. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to create a unique look and feel specific for that playoff run, and whatever the storyline is, we want to match the team storyline and connect with our fans heading into the playoffs. And that work starts well in advance. And one thing that I will say about that is, if you work in sports, you are competitive. You are looking around at the other teams, and when you go from 32 to 16, you start to ramp up, like your competitiveness, or like, we got to beat them. Like whoever we're playing, like in the playoffs, it's almost like a creative battle versus that team. So we start to like ramp up and really get into it. We put a lot of time and energy into our playoff campaigns, really just as much as the regular season.
Courtney, you're in the thick of it now.
Yeah.
What are kind of the motions and processes that you all have set up?
So we have a unique situation because we're in playoffs for Lynx, or will be, but we're also had Timberwolves schedule release this week, right? So we're doing playoffs and then the start of Wolves season. So it's really complex, I think. Where I really used litho and all of that was because both teams are now really good the past few years. I've done a lot of reporting to leadership of how much more projects we are working on. And with that reporting, I was able to get a coordinator. She's been with me for 6 months now. We've been able to get a Lynx marketing manager and a Lynx graphic designer. So dedicated staff just for that team. And so that's all thanks to litho and the data that I was able to use to get that head count. As far as prioritization, it's you see a playoff project, you open that right away, right? You see a start of season project, you open that one right away, and everything kind of comes after. And I think within the organization, we're all, rooting for the same thing. So we all know if we're submitting something that doesn't have to do with one of those two things, it's going to be pushed on the back burner. And that's kind of an unspoken rule between the organization.
Sure. And Jim, not as many probably surprise pop-ups, but you're a little bit unique because it's more global, right? So how does that kind of fit into prioritization?
It's more global in general, but we also have a playoff season. I mean, we have one playoff event, but we're unique in that we have 13 teams that are competing in that playoff event, which is a week from this Friday in Detroit. So if anyone needs tickets, you can still get them online. Livegolf.com, just in case you're curious.
We'll throw a QR code.
But for us, that one weekend of playoffs is a lot of in-tournament reactive head-to-head graphics that are being created based on teams that are being bracketed and drop out every day. So that's a really high volume time. For us, we end up flying out 3 extra designers to the event, aside from everyone that's working remote. So that this way they're working in time zone for the event and being completely reactive to what's happening on the field, on the golf course that day. So,
yeah.
and using litho is, huge help there. The one thing we do struggle with, so this is that Jerry Springer moment you were looking for, was
Where's Steve at?
when you're out on a golf course, you don't have your laptop with you. So when somebody's out there and they're capturing an image on their phone and they need it turned right away, they can't submit that litho request from their mobile device right now. So we're struggling with having to pivot to sending those requests via WhatsApp groups that somebody's then monitoring, and then a designer's then creating that litho request, because we don't want to lose that track of time, effort, volume. So we're still creating that, but now we're taking away design time because it's not coming in up front to get there. So at some point, we'd love to be able to have a mobile responsive version for the intake as well as the proof and review.
I think I can hear our brand new CTO feverishly writing notes right now as we speak.
Yeah.
So, curious, in the same idea of these various events like popping up that you need to prioritize. I imagine in the world of sports, in addition to things like playoffs, there's also injuries, there's also trades, right? How does that fit into how you all are always on your toes, essentially, and adapting and pivoting? Cato?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely speak on this season. We made a really short-lived, high-profile trade. I don't know how many hockey fans are here, but we traded for a really big-name player, and we immediately took action as a creative team to tell the story to our fans about what his arrival to the team looked like, him integrating himself with the rest of our teams, and then working. Lauren had to then pivot, and we wanted get his face on pole banners so that when he came to work, he'd be like, man, they're really looking after me. And trying to like immerse him into the Carolina Hurricanes team. So immediately we're taking on all kind of projects from video, photography requests, design requests. We have to then update everything that goes in our in-game show. So, tons of projects across the board when you onboard a new player in the middle of the season. We do plan for this, like we do when we shoot content on our media days, we do think about if we were to lose a player, if we were to gain a player, and we do take action. But it's essential that we have a platform that we can receive all these projects and distribute those out to all the creatives that will 100% have a role in a big trade.
Yeah. Similar for you, Courtney?
Yeah, very similar. We prep for it. We always have kind of a look and feel for welcome graphics or goodbye graphics. So when that does come, like we have that look and feel already developed. Again, that's where I really dive into Litho and like the work views. If we have to have designers jump quickly onto a project, I'm able to pull up everyone's workload and see like who actually has the bandwidth and the time to do it. I'm able to quickly see what projects could actually be pushed aside to make room for that. But also, again, being really strategic about what players we're using. Like, if we even have a think that player could be traded or, is a free agent that year, we're going to be really careful about putting them all over, our platforms.
Yeah. Curious, this just kind of popped in my head, and this is open to the floor, but is there one single channel that you all have found the most fan engagement in the last 12 months? And in addition to that, is there one particular channel that your creative team just absolutely loathes?
I mean, I think with us, like Twitter and Instagram, it gets real time. We get to, tell stories real time to our fans, and that really resonates with them. I think when I task an email send project to a designer, like they do not want to work on an email ticket sales campaign. That is not fun for them. There's lots of content that they don't care about. And that's kind of where like our sales team really like goes in that and fine tunes, and they don't like that either. So I would say the email graphics are kind of the no-no for our designers.
Yeah.
I would say that we're a team that really does not forget about our assets, our website, our SMS, our email. We take ownership over that because as we saw with TikTok, you never know when it could go. And so I think we all have our favorite platforms that we just like to, kind of doom scroll on, and that varies throughout our team. But I think we do a really good job of making sure that we own our website, our email team, digital marketing team. They do a great job. Our app, trying to gain subscribers and downloads for our app. So I think we do a good job of owning those platforms, but we all have our personal favorites. If you were asked a videographer, they'd all say YouTube and some of the social, TikTok. I personally have a photo background, so I'm an Instagram person.
I think for us, the YouTube is the YouTube. I'm really old. I said the YouTube. Right, it's right up there with the Facebook.
The MySpace?
Yeah, love that still. But for us, a lot of our content lives and breathes because of the video. And so we generate a lot of video content that lives and breathes on YouTube, also with our social content creators and partners. But in general, engagements have been going up event over event, and it's largely due to YouTube and Instagram currently. So,
yeah.
But we also support all of the company needs, whether it's website, email, all of that's done internally. So
I'm going to pivot. This will eventually lead to AI, but we're not quite there yet. Curious and Jim, maybe kick us off here. How does your team navigate the idea of brand compliance, right? Specifically, kind of, I think in the world of sports where you have a lot of different factors and variables, things like player sponsorships and regulations, and you're at a global scale, so that adds another layer into that.
Well, that was the perfect timing because earlier today during the AI portion of this conference, sitting there on my phone because an image got out that somebody put the wrong logo on somebody's kit.
Whoopsies.
Right, and I don't know if it was just a leftover layer from a previous something or another or what, but it went live on social. We had to pull it down immediately. We do have a brand compliance process, and we're working hard to force that back into Litho, because again, people sometimes want to be able to there's a perception that it takes too long for them to review it that way. They'd rather just get a Teams drop. Hey, is this okay? And so everything went through the process, but for whatever reason, nobody noticed, nobody paid attention to it, and just the image went out. So now to rein it back in, when I get back, we'll relook at the process to make sure the key people are in Litho and making sure that those things are getting handled properly.
Yeah.
Because whenever you deviate from process, that's when it bites you in the butt, right? You have a process in place for just this reason, and as soon as we deviate, there's always an issue.
Right. But you also, I can imagine, want to balance velocity.
That is the thing, right?
Right.
And when we try to, if we just send every single image or every single post out, well, that's way too much. So we kind of curate the bigger impact things. And as long as we're not retouching images, well, that's kind of what happens, right?
Yeah. Courtney, what about you? How do you all approach kind of the brand compliance with a lot of different player regulations, sponsorships, league regulations?
Yep, I think lots of layers of approvals within that. We have 2 people in marketing that are responsible for approving kind of any creative that goes out into the world. They are also responsible for getting legal approval or that league approval or player agent approvals. And it's not a bottleneck for us. They are very fast with it, within 24, 48 hours. If they're not able to get to the proof at that time or get approvals, they'll let us know why. So we just have a very solid team that really takes reviews as a priority throughout their day. And they're the responsible ones for getting all that approved. And then we always have someone from our sponsorship team on anything that has like a sponsor logo or copy about their partner to make sure that we're covered on that end. And that's all being run through Litho. Nothing really outside of that.
Any embarrassing stories of not getting caught in time?
None that I can think of. I think our team, we have a very solid marketing team. I can't say anything bad about it.
Fair.
They really catch kind of everything, to be honest. We've had stuff printed incorrectly, right? Like that happens all the time, our logo being incorrect, inverted, or wrong colors, but that's on our vendor, not on our team, so.
So Cato, I know you have an interesting Twitter story around utilizing AI content and from a player perspective, if you want to share that.
Yeah, so with AI, I think we're continuing to look at it in different ways. And one of those that I think we've quickly identified we probably want to stay away from, and that's using it as a creative tool. So there was a kids' day. We were just looking to take our players' headshots and maybe like cartoonify them using AI. And this was strictly for in-game. I think it was like at the end of the game, we have like 3 stars of the game, and we wanted to like kind of cartoonify their picture. Well, our social team also wanted to put that on Twitter, the 3 stars of the game, and they were cartoonified. And it wasn't even good AI. It was questionable AI. And so maybe a week later, our VP of marketing is like, man, how are we number 3 in the league in Twitter engagements this week? And that one post got over, it's probably at 3 million impressions, because there's this whole world now of people who are just and I don't know if that's AI, fighting AI, but there is just this huge contingent of people who do not want to see AI, especially when they know we have a creative team, we have a design team, we have humans that are making really cool stuff. They want to keep it in that lane. So it was a good learning lesson is one, be very thoughtful if you're going to dip into using it as a creative resource. And I think we all agree, it can be very powerful when it comes to streamlining workflow. I know our designers would love it with helping keyword photography, where you can just simply put in, Aho goal red, and boom, all the images of him wearing a red jersey pop up that they could potentially use in a graphic. So I think that was a good learning lesson, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's is any engagement good engagement when you're over 2.5 million impressions for one post is definitely interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if all publicity is good publicity in that perspective. was curious, you had mentioned, we had talked a little bit about fan engagement and that being one of the areas that you all look at from a reporting, insight, analytics perspective. Are there other pieces that you all are looking at, maybe Jim, start with you, on a weekly basis to determine the efficiency and effectiveness of the assets and the campaigns that your team's working on?
Sure. We do have a brand strategy team and a marketing team that are always looking to tweak the model for what's working. So we get a lot of feedback from them in our briefs. We do some A/B testing along the way to make sure that we have the right stuff. Because we're global, we have different versions of assets. So everything from quick early bird, like these events are coming, get your tickets now, to then as we're 2 months out, we start doing very localized posts where we bring in local color, local texture, local flavor into all the posts, because that's really who we're targeting. And so something that targets an audience in South Africa is going to be very different than an audience in Australia or in Korea or in Louisiana, right? It's going to be a very different look and feel. So we're constantly tweaking and working to make sure that that's right. And all that's fed in through metrics and stuff from our marketing team.
Cato, what about you?
Yeah, our digital team take a lot of pride in engagement rate. We're very strategic with what we post. I think they do a great job of having a good pulse of what our fans want. A lot of team strategy might just be, overall engagements or just kind of rapid fire, throw a lot of stuff out there. So we take a lot of care in curating content that should return in higher engagement rate. We're consistently top 5 in the league in those metrics. I think data is a very powerful tool, and especially when you're creative, it's especially in my seat where, younger me just want to make cool stuff. As you start to become a creative leader, you need to communicate upwards to executives, and that's where numbers come in and data. And I think being able to pool insights from Litho to say, hey, look, we spent X amount of time on this, X amount of time on this is very valuable. Our schedule release video the previous year, we probably put 50 hours worth of work, a good amount of budget, time, resources. This last year, we just asked one of our players' friends in Winnipeg to send us a bunch of phone video, and we slapped it together, and it outperformed that previous post. So that's just the state of the world, is like use numbers. Like I think it's our responsibility to really have our pulse on what your customers want, and not overthink it sometimes. I think sometimes we can get in our own way as a creative team by trying to overproduce things. And Litho as a tool and these social metrics are great ways to identify an A/B test.
Yeah, common thread I'm hearing, and not just here, but in the conversations we've been having over the last day or two, is this balance between, I think someone said it yesterday, creative and strategy, right? And most creative teams, most people in this room, I think what makes you all do your best work is having that autonomy and that space to be creative and think about new ideas and thinking about, an approach like having a player's friend, record themselves, and that being the thing that really, lands from an engagement perspective. Courtney, I'd be interested, when you all in your team, how do you measure kind of the balance between strategy from a business perspective and allowing the team to have the autonomy to be creative, right? Because that's kind of where the magic is, right? And ideally, how does something like Litho help there?
Yeah, I think for us, it's a little easier for us because there's, obviously our ticket sales campaigns, our big things like that, like their strategy, they have to design based on that, but we also get to design some really cool stuff. That's not always so based on strategy. Our in-arena giveaways, for instance, I can give them one line of, this is what I'm looking for, put it in City Edition branding. And then they get to take that City Edition branding, and then they get to make whatever they want with it, right? With some guardrails, of course. Retail is another place. Utilize this look and feel, but have fun with it. So I think for us, it's a little easier because it is like those big campaigns, strategy, but everything else is kind of have fun, be creative, let's see what you have.
Jim, what about you all?
I think that brand strategy is the guardrail. And the creativity comes with that. Everything we do levels up to a strategy. And we do have a drop down within our forms that people can say, this is for this element of what we're trying to achieve, and then that's what we work towards. We're able to then pull reports end of year or end of season or mid-season for us to say, hey, this is where we are, this is what we've done. Emma, our creative ops manager, is here today, and she does a great job of communicating and getting those reports all pulled for us.
What happens when the strategy and the creative motions are at odds with each other? I'm sure that happens, right? Jim, how do you approach that?
We see more issues with business prioritization versus strategy and creative. And prioritization is a big thing. We may have ticketing assets, but also in-venue assets that are needed, or something, or stuff for an event that's 2 months away, but still needs to be out now to leverage the ticket sales on ramp and all that kind of good stuff. So we're always fighting priorities, and we're always trying to balance out what is the strategic one to work on in that moment, at that time, to make sure that we're leveraging and not hurting ourselves. So the assets are out there with enough time to breathe, get the engagement, get the sales, drive the marketing function. So,
do you have any kind of like weekly, I heard from someone yesterday around having a weekly kind of collaboration session with the creative team and with like the executive team from like a strategic creative perspective? Is that something that you all?
Yeah, we meet with our marketing team every week just to kind of review their priorities. Yeah. We don't do that with every business unit, so we don't do that with retail and merch, we don't do that with social, but everybody has their own priorities that all kind of leverage up together, largely, but for us, it's that big connection. Marketing is our biggest requester of work, so we really have to stay lockstep with them.
I'm going to shift here. For the floor here in the audience here, Courtney, what would you say a mindset shift or potential challenges that you could share with this audience around matching the level of velocity that comes in, specifically, I think, unique to the sports world?
Yeah, I think my boss a few years ago said this, and she's no longer my boss anymore, but I liked her.
Because of what she said? Because of this quote?
No, she said something really
Is she still
good.
with us?
Yeah, well, yes, she's still somewhere. But she said, I was really stressed out, obviously, like playoff, start of season, so many projects. I worked a game night, I was there till 1 a.m., had to get up, be at work the next morning. And I was feeling the burnout, right? And she said this sentence, I was like, Courtney, remember, like, you get to do this. Like, you get to work a playoff game. You get to plan for start of season for links. So I really use that all the time when I'm feeling burnout. Like, this is something I get to do. This is so fun. Like, and it's really kept, it's a small little thing, right? But it's helped so much during these times of just like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on. But, 8-year-old Courtney would have, been shocked that I get to do these things. Yeah. So really just changing that mindset has been tremendous for me.
That's huge. Whenever if I go out for a run or something early in the morning and I'm complaining about it to my son, he'll always say, I'll say, I have to go for a run. And he goes, no, you get to go for a run. So yeah, it's really powerful and impactful.
Yeah.
Cato, what about you? Any kind of tips in terms of mindset shift for anyone in the audience that wants to match the level of velocity of the sports world?
I love the I get to, and that's something that also I use quite frequently. I think it's something always to keep in perspective. But for me, as a obligation to be a creative leader, I've more and more over my time, I care less about the work and more about the people. Like, I truly think about each individual on the team, and not just on the team, the people we work with in other departments, and just try to get a pulse on how they're doing. Because if you don't have balance, and in sports, it's never going to be 50-50 balance. It's just how much are you redlining, how much can you sustain until the playoffs are over, until the season's over, until the next thing happens. And our design team in particular, they work 365 because you have free agency and draft, and all sports leagues want to be a 12-month-a-year business now. So I care about the people. So I think more about people, more about figuring out why somebody might be frustrated, everyone's project is the most important at any given time, and as soon as you understand that, you can't take things personal. It's always business. So there's a lot of those little tools that I think in sports you have to bring in and let go of some of that competitiveness that I was talking about. Like it's subjective whether we're number one or whatever, right? Like it's all about the performance on the field or ice. So I think making sure your team is in a good spot, the people you work with are in a good spot, having grace, having empathy are all very important tangibles to bring to the table every day.
I love that. I want to come back. You said some stuff about people leadership, specifically for creatives, that I want to circle back on. But Jim, any tips for anyone out there that you obviously have a really unique perspective because you are the last 3 years new to the sports world?
Yeah, I moved into the sports world 3 years ago with a league that just started 3 years ago. So we've only been around for 3 years. So you talk about velocity. In 3 years, we've traveled the globe. I mean, I did the math recently using ChatGPT. And I had to figure out how many miles I've done. And I've done almost 12 circumnavigations of the globe.
Wow.
Sometimes that's in 2 weeks. So my very first trip went from West Palm Beach to Thailand. So we headed west across the US to get to Thailand. Then went from Thailand to Saudi Arabia, so then just kept heading east. And then from Saudi Arabia back home, we just kept going east to back home. So in 1 2 week period, in 10 days, I'd completely circumnavigated the globe. But from a velocity point of view, everything we've done has been at speed. I mean, we've built a team at speed. We started with 2 designers year 1. The very end of that first season, we hired a third person who I've been trying to get for a long time, and we didn't have Litho at the beginning. So I didn't have those numbers to really tell, except what I was counting in folders, which, trust me, you don't want to get into that ever again, right? But when we finally hired that person, we got that head count. I was like, oh, I can't believe it's the end of season, and I don't really need this person now. I needed him 2 months ago. I had no idea that the off season, as they pitched it, was actually the busiest part of the year. It's really not an off season. For us, it's a preseason. We go directly from end of season to preseason. And every step along the way, we're building towards what that next season is. So by midway through this season, we've already designed what the next season in 2026 is going to look like. And then we get to do it again as players change and sponsors change, and we get to keep updating those graphics and reiterating on them. And keeping all that straight is something we never could have done in email or in any other platform. So,
yeah, love that. Back to what you said about, I think one thing that's a common thread here for a lot of people, not just that they're creatives, but a lot of people in this room are also leading teams, right? So they're people leaders. You had said something about, caring a lot, even more so about the people themselves as opposed to the work at times. I'd be curious to hear from everybody, starting with you, Cato, with the rise of AI, right? I can imagine that a lot of creatives, a lot of marketing teams, but specifically a lot of creative folks feel hesitant, feel maybe nervous at times as it relates to what does this mean for me and my role and how I approach work and my value to an organization, right, at the end of the day. I think as we're learning more about how to utilize AI from an operational perspective in terms of efficiency as opposed to the content creation side of things, folks are starting to feel a little bit more excited about that. But is that something that your team, do you all discuss that, or how do you approach that, not only as a creative, but from the lens of a people leader?
Yeah, I think just with that example I gave about the Twitter snafu, it's always about people. You know what I mean? Like our photographer brings a certain skill set, our video team brings a skill set, our designers each have, not to go too deep, but let's go deep. As humans, we all have our purpose and our creative energy, and that's unique. And I think that's just something that AI is not able to replicate, at least at this stage of the game. So I think, it's always about, 100% looking for tools to make our workflow become more efficient, data, numbers. But we really even haven't discussed on how this could potentially replace a piece of creative or replace specifically any of our roles or jobs. I mean, It is fascinating. There is just tons of tools that are coming, and what I'm saying right now, 5 years from now, might not be the case. 10 years from now, I don't know if anybody's driven in a Waymo. You know what a Waymo is? It's pretty crazy. So as of right now, it's not something that we're really scared of or we discuss too much.
Yeah. Courtney, are those conversations happening, like as a people leader, you know, in that lens?
They are, good and bad.
Yeah.
Bad, kind of a funny story. I had an email sent to me from someone outside of our organization. It was very long. It didn't need to be that long. Lots of pretty words, long words, and I'm like, what is
M
this?
dashes.
Though the dashes weren't there, but at the end of it was a signature from ChatGPT saying, like, if you want me to circulate it a different way. So this person literally copied and pasted everything from ChatGPT and placed it in an email. And that was a learning moment for the team.
Yeah.
Because you gotta be careful, right? But you know, I use it. I can ramble on and on and on. And when I need to get my point across to a leader, right? Like I'll put that in ChatGPT and say, make this 2 sentences. So it's a good tool, but you also have to take that information and make it your voice. Not have it replace your voice. So we talk about that a lot. We also are excited about AI and where it's going. We've got new owners and they are really innovative. They're really excited about AI and they're really encouraging our teams to explore and see how it can benefit us. So I was really excited about the session or this, you know, what we talked about earlier about AI and what Litho is going to be doing. I'll be sharing that with our team, and I think everyone's going to be excited about it. But obviously with some guardrails and being a little careful.
Yeah. Can I just add to that?
Please.
We 100% have had non-creatives show the phone, look what Grok cooked up, and then you know it's oh yeah, we'll consider that. Like that's kind of where it stopped. Like I think it's like as a creative leader, it's almost like you realize that it's going to be, people are going to be using it to try to show what's in their head. And I think that's a delicate balance when you're a creative team, is because we try not to be, we're not robots. We can't get in our stakeholders' head and produce what's in there. It's up to the creative to bring these concepts to life a lot of times, right? So that's where it is interesting, you know, for non-creatives just to put the prompts in, show you I want this, is definitely interesting.
Everyone's a creator now, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that for us, the conversation that we have is that, you know, AI is a tool. Just like having a camera doesn't make you a photographer, same thing, having a typewriter doesn't make you a writer. They're all just tools, but without that creative spark within you, that's what makes it the art. And that's what we all embrace. And that's what we encourage in our team and in our people. And that's what we're trying to grow in them to make them better designers. And I've been in this industry for 30 some odd years and I've seen a lot of change. I mean, I remember back in the day when, you know, I was working in magazines and we still did layouts and we'd put them on boards and we sent out for galleys and had to strip them down and do layers and all. The words I'm saying right now, half the people in the room don't even know what that means. Right? I'm even struggling for the words still. It's so long ago. But then we got a Mac and we started not sending out for galleys, but we still cut out paper and put it down on a page for somebody to take a photo of to then make the printed page. So things have changed and the tool didn't replace us. We just learned to be more efficient and find more time for creativity because of the efficiencies the tool allows. And I think that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah. Love that.
In sports,
Cato's fired up on this.
Yeah. No, in sports, I do want to, from a creative perspective, I do want to drill down a little bit what our product is. Yes, our product in our case is ice hockey, but truly the product is the players that put on the jersey for that year, and that's what creates it. I'm a firm believer in the players are your product for that given year. They come and go. But let's say we know this is our core group of guys, and you can't, like that, you need strong photography and relationships to get the best pose out of them that builds them up as a hero, and that is human connection. Like, you know, you could take, if a player is going through a car wash on media day, he doesn't know a photographer, might not give you what he gets from our team photographer who has a personal relationship, and those poses matter, those looks matter. That's what drives connection with kids that look up at that guy on a billboard. And, you know, hockey already we're facing, they wear helmets with visors and you're separated by glass. It's an arena where, you know, the common fan's gonna be on the 300 level. Like already we're trying to break down those, create human connection, build these people up as heroes. And once again, that's not something that I think, you know, AI can provide right now.
That's such a fascinating perspective. To that point, right, you kind of talk about your team almost being a reflection of the players. Does your creative team have any superstitions, pre-game rituals, anything like that on game day that you all do in the office or in the remote world?
Yeah, I think if you were to go around our creative team, we have our own all little things, whether that's wearing the same underwear for a period of time, whether that's something worked on a certain game day, you had a certain thing to eat. Yeah, I think we all. I
think that goes back to the connection point, right? Like
Yeah.
those are the kind of those small little connections that connect us from a human experience perspective, which sounds like is at the anchor of what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Courtney, you all have any?
I wish. Like I really can't.
Maybe you could bring it
and
back,
maybe we do. I think the cool part is how much we all care when you're watching those games when they're big games. I mean, I've cried with our team. I've cheered. You just get so emotional and invested because you also they're players, they're humans, right? So you get to know them, you get to like them, you want them to win. So it becomes this very like emotional kind of experience as well. But I'm sure we have some of those, but I just don't know of them. And I want to find out though, to be honest.
Jim, I mean, still early on.
It's still early on, and you know we're a different thing. We're not just one team; we're 13 teams. So we support the league, so like NHL or NBA. You know, we are that for team golf, live golf. But then we have the 13 teams that we also support. So you know, I'm sure that the designers that are working specifically for teams may have. I know the teams will wear the same kit every day for each day. So those. Photographers that are assigned to the team or the social people that are assigned, they all show up wearing the same thing. And that's their team uniform for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And that's awesome. I personally do have all black on Sundays, only because sometimes I'm on the 18th green holding lighting kit for our photo team that's gonna do the champagne moment and the trophy moment right afterwards. So I kind of do like back of house, like in a stage production, I'm up against a black wall wearing all black. Sometimes you see me, sometimes you don't. You know, sometimes you see sunglasses and a smile, who knows? But that's kind of my one thing that I would say is that Sundays I wear black.
Can we get Courtney, wear your litho socks for game one of the Lynx?
I'm wearing mine right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
We got these right now.
And if they win, game
When they win.
When they
When
win.
they
You will win.
you have to keep them on for the whole playoffs.
I don't have any.
We'll make sure we'll get her some. We will get her some.
And Cato needs socks too, because he didn't even wear any today.
Apparently, I need some as well. Yeah. I'm not even wearing purple ones. So we've got about 10 or 12 minutes left. I'd love to maybe open it up if anybody has any questions. We may have a microphone that we can pass around if need be. But anyone out there have any questions? Just throw your hand up, shout out, throw a chair.
Creative. Oh, thank you. For the situations where you're having to turn creative really quickly, do you typically have like templates in place to help execute that as quickly as possible?
Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's we're really prepared for just about any scenario, a trade, a thank you graphic for a player who signed somewhere else. I think you build out assets, definitely being prepared for any and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I also think like there are times, right, where we have all these assets built out or templates and then ownership or leadership wants something totally different and then we have to, that's a whole nother story. But for the most part, I do think that we have that kind of developed early on, so we're ready for anything.
We do have tiers though. Like one thing is like, let's say a player's been with the team for a certain amount of time, then we want to put a little extra into that to make sure we show them respect, just depending on the situation and the player. But yeah, we're pretty much ready for.
And just to add one other thing, for the last minute requests that come in, we actually have a different form. That is just a reactive in tournament, last minute kind of thing. It's a very brief thing. It's maybe like seven input areas that are mostly just drop downs. And that goes to the on-site designer at that tournament directly, and they're the ones accepting it and fulfilling it in the moment. Because depending on where we are in the world, it could be nighttime back in the States or nighttime in the UK when this is coming through. So we empower the designer that's working that event the ability to kind of accept, track, triage, and then ultimately deliver.
Who else?
I have one. Who's your favorite player on your team?
And why is it Anthony Edwards from Georgia?
I like them all. They all have such big, different personalities. They're really fun to do marketing for, right? Like with Anthony Edwards, he's super easy. Everyone knows him. But then you have Jada McDaniels, who doesn't talk, who doesn't smile. But also there's a fun tie into how we play on him, right? The things that they say, we blow up, we put it on t-shirts, hats, whatever. So just really taking in their personalities has been really fun. But I don't know if I have a favorite. And I don't know if I'm allowed to, so that's the other thing.
Most importantly, will Nafisa be ready for the playoffs?
I hope so.
Well,
Yep.
hope so.
Yep.
My favorite, I can't say one. I think all of our players are great. I think hockey players are just different, and working around different sports leagues, you do have in the NBA some divas, and you have on a football team the wide receivers, running back, quarterbacks are a lot different than the linemen. Baseball, you have the bullpen guys, and Latin players are a little different than the position players, and that's all part of it. But I root for the players who get it. And when I say get it, they understand that they understand their platform and the obligation they have to kids, to the fans who take the time to do autographs, who take the time to give back. So I'm a fan of those guys, and I think our team is exceptional when it comes to that.
Wow, 13 teams, 54 players. There's a lot to choose from. But I think that what Cato said is really important. The people that are making those fan connections, I see it week in, week out, players stopping to sign an autograph. It makes a difference. Personally, I had friends that came out to an early Live Golf event in 2022. They live in Jupiter, Florida, right near where Dustin Johnson lives. And they came with their 6-year-old daughter. She had a hat. She was waiting to see DJ come out of the locker room, and he came out. Not on him. He's 6-something, and she was like this tall. Didn't even see her. He was up the stairs and gone before she even had a chance. But behind DJ was his wife. And she saw this little girl dejected, put her hat back on and put her head down. And Paulina said, "Dustin, you get down here and sign this girl's hat." And he slung his head and he walked back down the stairs, signed the girl's hat, and then spoke with the parents for like 15 minutes. Because they both lived in the same town. They talked about restaurants, they talked about fishing, they talked about boating, all the things that were just human. And these people are athletes and they are superstars, but they're also humans. And when they make that human to human connection, it makes a difference. So flash forward 3.5 years later, this little girl is now taking golf lessons. Is it a direct ripple effect? I don't know, but something happened in that moment that was really special. So
Love
it's
that
nice
story.
to see that.
The connection is that Paulina, his wife, is the daughter of Wayne Gretzky.
Right.
Who is a popular.
I've heard of him.
I have a slight other question here. How has your approach to brand compliance evolved as the volume and speed of content creation keeps increasing?
Can you repeat that?
I don't have an answer for you.
Went from favorite player to
Yeah.
I'll just add this, and I almost want to ask y'all, how long you've been in Litho. I think that matters. We're still in the onboarding process. We've been in Litho for about 1.5 to 2 years. Lauren still has to face challenges every day with stakeholders who aren't there yet in terms of checking in, making it part of their daily routine, and that might be, from the sponsorship team that needs to get eyes on a logo, and could kind of slow us down a little bit from closing a project. It could be internally, our own creative team. But we're getting better, and we're continuing to grow, and we're continuing to use it for brand compliance, where the review tools are so powerful, and depending on how many people are a part of a review, generally we're going to catch mistakes. We're going to catch the colors off. We're going to catch the wrong logo more times than not. But it's a process, and we're still in there trying to train, build comfortability, build really partnerships with everyone, all the other departments. And it's hit or miss, but it's part of the process. Like, if you're in that kind of early stage and you're frustrated, just know, keep going, and things will get better over time. And the tools are there for these kind of issues.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of high turnover in sports, obviously, and I think, there's some pros and cons to that, obviously. But one of the pros is when new people come in, you get to train them. Like, this is how we work, and you just follow this process, right? It's harder when it's someone that has been doing something a certain way for 5 years to retrain them to do something different. But I think it's so important when you do have new staff members, and I don't know the size of all of your guys' companies, but for me, anytime we have a new staff member come in that wants to be a stakeholder or a user, they have to set up a meeting with me, and it has to be a training meeting where I, teach them everything. But on top of LIFO, I tell them the why behind the rules, right? The why behind the timelines, the why behind what's a rush project and what's not, and how it benefits them and us and everyone. And it's not just like a one-way, this is just for the designer, this is for you too. But I really think it's giving them that right away is really helpful, and how I got so much buy-in within the organization of like, I met with Courtney, if I want anything done, it has to go through LIFO. But it's also making sure that you have buy-in from the designers that aren't going to do that one-off project on Teams that someone's asking them to do. Like, the designers have to stop it and have to say, no, this has to go through LIFO. So I think the designers having the buy-in is more important than the leaders, to be honest, because that's how you get them to stop doing art outside of LIFO.
And just like I said before, having a camera doesn't make you a photographer, just like having LIFO doesn't make you a project manager or creative workflow person. But having that tool and having people like our creative ops manager, who also meets with every new stakeholder, and doing continual education, right? It's not a set it and forget it, right? As we evolve our processes, as teams evolve their process, as new teams come up within our organization, we're constantly pivoting. We're constantly adding more things to the mix. So it's just making sure that everyone's aware of it, and the why is super important. You can't just say do without why, because everybody always wants to know the why. So we lead with why, and it's helping us help you. Because all of us are designing at the speed of sport, right? It happens every day super fast. And so we need that same partnership from the people that are reviewing. Something can't sit for 3 days because there's a ticketing deadline or there's an event, right? Okay, well, we missed this giant billboard because you didn't reply, right? And love all the automation within LIFO. Sometimes I have it set for re-notify reviewers every hour, right? It doesn't help, but personally it makes me feel better, right? And it doesn't get them to reply faster, but I feel better about that. I've been like passively aggressively going from 24 hours to 12 hours, 8 hours. Now we're down to an hour, right? And it's still not happening. So if we can get that down to the minute, that would be a great opportunity there.
Perfect. That's it. We appreciate it. Please make some noise for Cato, Courtney, and Jen.
Thank you guys.
All right. Thank you all.